Hey, welcome back to my channel. This is my third podcast episode. This is the Now I Know episode for the post-performance and semester reflection. Okay, a dance never looks like how it looks in rehearsal on stage. Okay? There may be instances where a dancer does something right that they never got right in rehearsal, or they mess up something that they never messed up in rehearsal. For example, Melody, she has a part where she's reaching, and then when the music breaks, she goes the opposite way towards the other dancers. However, and she did this great in rehearsal, but when it was on stage, she didn't hold her reach up. She was adaptable, so she kept reaching and stepping until it got to the part where she was supposed to go the opposite way. So even though she messed up, she played it off and nobody knew she messed up. I know she messed up because I know my choreography, but it still looks good nonetheless, which is something that when you're a dancer, you kind of do it instinctively most of the time if you're a good dancer. But being the choreographer on this side, it's kind of like, oh, I'm not mad that she messed up, but like you still see it, you know? I don't know if I have said this before, but my piece was supposed to be all three of them going through spiritual warfare, and it was supposed to be them kind of just accepting it. It kind of got more creepy and it shifted to one dancer going through it and them being the spiritual warfare that she's going against. So it was always about, it kind of had like a more, well, it always had a chaotic feel to it, but the storyline definitely shifted. I think the original with all three of them going through it would have just been like, it kind of just would have had a dark vibe. You wouldn't really be able to tell it was a story. It would have just felt like they were just dancing, and it was like it had like a theme or a concept, but it wouldn't be a story. Now I feel like you can see the story and character development. So when I originally thought of this concept, I originally was inspired by the Bible verse, Ephesians chapter 6 verse 12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. So I took the part of against flesh and blood out, which if you really think about it, it says our battle is not against flesh and blood. But I kind of wanted that I kind of wanted the key words to stand out to the believers. So it's like you know, I was gonna say sight words. I don't think that's what I'm thinking of, but like something that's gonna make them think, oh, flesh and blood, like, and take them back to the verse. I could have did the whole verse, or I could have took another part, but that's just the part that stood out the most to me. So that's the part I chose. I think that one specific response I got was talking about the whole, okay. They mentioned the composition of my dance tied well together.
I was saying that I was personally taken aback by the full composition of it. Like, just like watching it on stage and each piece, right? Like trying to see it through your lens of three separate parts. It's just everything. The way that it all came together just was very provocative to me.
One of my peers stated that she thinks the costumes added to the piece, and that having two dancers in the black with the covers over their faces adds to the eeriness and added to the theme of the dance. She said, since every dancer had a different role, I think that individuals individually their roles stood out, but all together it makes your piece unique with having your dancers do different things. Overall, I think my message got across to the audience the way I wanted it to, and especially with the added layer of the costumes that added to the character of my dancers, that was something that stood out a lot to people. So I think that it, even though in rehearsals I was nervous that my message and theme was not going to get across, it really showed through on the final performance day. I learned about my creative process this semester that sometimes my original idea is not going to work at all the way I think it's going to work. And when that happens, I have to try to step outside of myself to look at my dance from a different lens and readjust accordingly. That might mean scrapping an entire song, or it might just mean changing the dynamics of the dancers, the directions of movements, the timing, and such. As I stated before, this dance was completely different when I first started choreographing it. But I think now that I accepted that it wasn't working, I then was able to shift and make something more deep and thoughtful than I knew I could from the start. I think that from my I learned I don't know what I'm saying. I think that I realized that I want to tell raw, unfiltered stories, because I was kind of nervous to make this dance because I felt like it was kind of dark, even though it was supposed to be inspired by the Bible. But you have to realize that we're all humans, and the story is raw and true. It's not like demonic just because it has some negative emotions. It's just something we all go through. It's human nature. And I'm not saying that I think all my stories are going to be dark. I just want them all to be true. I don't want to have to sugarcoat anything or filter out things. With that being said, I do think I still need to work on movement clarity and movement quality within my storytelling, because there are some aspects, like I tried to feature denim, except I'm not well versed in denim. I just took from what I could remember from classes, or when I tried to take from ballet in some sections, which of course I changed because it's not a ballet dance. But when I take from other things, I need to be more conscious of how I'm taking it and more educated on the movement itself, so that when translating it in my storytelling and to my dancers, then it can be clear and it can have my stamp on it, if that makes sense. I think dramaturgy definitely affected how I choreographed this semester, even though I had to seek help from my professor in order to fully do the dramaturgy section. I think that the dramaturgy is what allowed me to step outside of my own perceptions and my own original ideas for the dance and realize, okay, this does need to be changed. This actually isn't working, and make the needed adjustments, because the questions I had to ask myself, looking at the piece as a whole and looking at each individual section, the dramaturgy just really put this dance on spotlight and my intentions for it. So I had to ask myself, is this what I want to present, and does this line up with who I am and my choreographic voice? I think moving forward, I will use a lot more dramaturgy in my work, as well as drawing from different styles that I have experienced and that I want to learn more from as an artist not just a dancer, so that my stories can tell every aspect and connect to people in a way that just contemporary can't, or that I wouldn't be able to if I didn't use dramaturgy, so that it can have layers, dynamics, and just all around my creative voice and stamp of approval. Thanks for watching. This is my third and final podcast for this creative process class, though I still want to do more podcast work in the future. So comment down below what you want to see. Stay tuned for more work coming in the future, and I'll see you next time.